Is this a Grade 1 horse masquerading as a handicapper? Hello and welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel. I hope you are doing well. We're really close to the Cheltenham Festival. No Andrew today, that's because he is working out in Dubai at Meydan, so wishing him all the very best of luck. But instead, unfortunately for you, you've got me talking you through the Cheltenham Handicaps. We've got the Irish marks this week, lots of Twitter talk, and I'm going to fire through each handicap, highlighting a couple of horses that I personally believe could be of note. A few things to run through very quickly before. We've got two preview nights, one on the 5th near Middlesbrough and one on the 6th in Birmingham. Both selling well, but there are a few more spaces if you did want to come. All the information will be down below. There's going to be lots of fun had and great panels as well. So me and Andrew very much looking forward to going to both of those. I think we're staying over for both of those as well. So we'll have a great time to chat afterwards and talk all things Cheltenham. So if that's of interest, please do go and take a look down below. And also on the Friday the 7th, we're doing two live streams, one on LTR Plus and then one on the Jump Show with Dan Overall, Jake Price and Tom Bull. I've had a bit of a bone to pick with Tom Bull. I lived with him for 2 years, and on his anti-post series that they do, I think he's put up something like 55 million British trained horses. And obviously, as we all know, with what the Irish do every single year, it's just simply ridiculous. So looking forward to pulling him up on that. But let's move on to the first Cheltenham Handicap, and the first one is the Ultima. I quite like an exposed handicapper here, but I like a British trained. The Irish have got a terrible record in the race. A British trained handicapper that's ran in all those big races throughout the season, mainly the Coral Gold Cup at Newbury in November. I think a lot of winners have come from that race, and there's two from that race that I do like here. One is Broadway Boy, finished second, and then Henry's Friend as well. I think he finished 5th that day. Broadway Boy was given a rating of 150. He just loves Cheltenham. Coming round to him, just think that this test could be right up his street. He's running all the right races, he's in form, and I think that he goes there a bit fresher than he did last year. So I think Broadway Boy could be of interest. Henry's Friend, again, similar profile. He was put up £7 for the Newbury win on his last start, but he's in form. He doesn't necessarily have the Cheltenham form. I think he went to the National Hunt Chase last year and was pulled up in the race. So that would be the one concern. But those two, for me, at this stage, are of interest. And then the first handicap hurdle on day one is the Boodles. And I like two with a very similar profile, both trained by Joseph O'Brien, both owned by JP McManus. And surprisingly, I thought Put Your Hands Together was possibly missed in the market. He was given a rating of 130, which I actually thought was quite lenient with what he's done. I thought his last start against older horses looks glaringly obvious that this was the race that they had in mind. It was an all-important third run. He needed to run that day, and I'm not sure they necessarily wanted to go and win as impressively as he probably could. He finished second. As a result, he got 130. He's 12-1. I think he's actually got a great chance. Beyond Your Dreams, I've spoken about her before. I put her up at 25-1 in the anti-post series. She's now best price 12s. She got a rating of 123, which I think is probably fair. And considering she beat Slurrican by 3/4 of a length on her last start off the same weights, Slurrican's been given a rating of 126. So you think that Beyond Your Dreams is well in. I think both of them go there with a very similar profile, and I do think that one of them could carry Mark Walsh on board. If Mark Walsh does go and pick one of these, I think they're going to go off second favourite. One of them will be a good bit shorter. So I like Beyond Your Dreams out the two just off their handicap marks, but I think Put Your Hands Together has got a massive chance as well, and this clearly has been the plan. The next handicap, and the first time we've spoken about this race as a handicap for a good while, is the National Hunt Chase. I'm kind of semi-coming around to now is the hour. He's 7-2. It's not a flashy price, but 139 I thought was fair. Transmission is 10-1. He's got a mark of 133. We knew that before. I think that he boasts all the Cheltenham form. It's interesting to know what this race is going to chuck out, because it's a 0-145. Last year it was a grade 2. The last couple of seasons we've had effectively a 6-runner race, 5 traditional National Hunt Chase horses and 1 semi-Gold Cup horse of the future. They crawl around. The Gold Cup horse of the future goes and quickens up around the bend. I don't know how this race is going to be run. Is it going to be run like a more of an old-fashioned race? Are we going to get lots of runners? I think Transmission holds the Cheltenham key. But at this point, that race, I wouldn't have a massive say in that. So those two, Now Is the Hour and Transmission, I think will have good chances. In the Coral Cup, quite like a few outside pokes here. The first one, the shortest of them all, 12-1, Impose Toi for Nicky Henderson. Got a mark of 141, up £20 from his Cheltenham November meeting win. Just on the upgrade, on the improve. And I just thought maybe he is the horse that could go and win this. Nicky Henderson's got an impeccable record in the Coral Cup. I think he's won it 3 or 4 times in the last 15. And he always sends a horse on the up. Sometimes even the classy horses can go and win this. I think that Impose Toi holds a decent chance. JP McManus has got plenty of runners. But out of the British ones, I thought maybe Impose Toi was the one. Carla Conti, she's got the option of the Mares Hurdle. Gordon Elliott's talking about Brighter Days Ahead in the Champion Hurdle. I think he mentioned that Carla Conti, and she's got an entry in the Mares Hurdle, could go there if Brighter Days Ahead does go to the Champion. Woodoo could also be supplemented, so that's one to watch. But she got a mark of 145. She's 20-1. I think she's most likely to run here, possibly. Maybe the Mares Hurdle, I'm not too sure. But I know that Connections had a handicap in mind at the start of the season, and I just think that at 20-1, if she does run here, maybe it's one of those to wait for on the day, and she'll be a good bit shorter as a result, but she'll definitely run. Maybe no run and no bet, but I just think that she's got a massive chance if she was to run here. Last year's juvenile form is working out so well. You've got Nurga Bergring, who won the Galway Hurdle, Burdett Road won the Greatwood, Sergino looks a monster, Magborough looks a monster, and there are a few horses in this who I do think in this video could possibly be overlooked as a result of finishing down the field in some of those juvenile races, and maybe Carla Conti. I just think she's got a decent chance in the Coral Cup if she was to turn up. And then the other one is British trained, Queen's Gamble at 25-1. Got a mark of 136. We kind of knew that was what she was going to be. But I just feel there is still a big race there. She loves Cheltenham. They obviously have the option of the Mares Hurdle as well, but she got a mark of 136. I doubt Harry Durham's going to run her in a Mares Hurdle with that sort of mark, unless he just wants to simply get black type. But I think she's got a good chance at 25-1. I think you can definitely get a run for her money, and she loves Cheltenham. So if she acts around there, as well as we know she can, she probably has a decent chance. The cross-country chasing comes next. And again, it's a handicap for the first time in a long time. Galvin, I thought, was interesting. It's difficult, isn't it? Because they go a crawl now in the cross-country chase. There's not an end-to-end gallop, so I don't necessarily think it's going to massively hinder those horses at the top of the weights. So maybe the classy horses can come to the fray. That being said, I thought Stumptown was given a very, very, very harsh mark of 157. He's got to carry top weight. That'd be a massive, massive concern for me. Galvin got 154. I don't know, he was competitive off 155 in the Grand National last year. Gordon Elliott loves him, thinks he's bouncing at home. He's proven over course and distance. I think if the ground came up on the good side, I think Galvin's got to have a massive chance. He's 11-2, maybe one for the day. He might not necessarily be any shorter than that if it's soft ground. He might be a good bit shorter than that if it's good ground. Might go off favourite, possibly. But I'm not too sure. Galvin off 154 would scream a possible chance if the classy horse comes to the fray, but we don't know how this race is going to work out. The Grand Daniel, again, a few massive pokes in here. The one I probably am warmest on is Path de Reux. He finished third in the race last year. He's £2 higher. Won at Cheltenham at the start of the season. I thought 18-1 Path de Reux was very interesting because we know he's pretty much going to go to the race. He's in form. Won at Cheltenham this year. Trained by Gavin Cromwell, an absolute master. I just thought he was overlooked at 18s and would go there with a good chance. And then two massive prices, just thought possibly overlooked. Calico at 33-1. Likes any type of ground, but probably would prefer good ground. Got a mark of 141, £3 higher than when beating Matata at the October meeting. I don't know, has this always been the plan? Nell's Son I thought was interesting at 50-1. Got a mark of 148, but this race chucks up big price winners and horses that you just don't expect to win. Not necessarily the sexy, unexposed novice profile. I remember getting done with Croco Bay. I backed Bundoran, who finished second. Sky Pirate, I suppose, was a novice when Antukas finished second. But those sexy types always seem to get undone by this race. Maybe it's the undulations. I think Nelson, just as solid as a handicapper you'll get. You might worry about the Cheltenham form, maybe the mark, but the 2 times he's been to Cheltenham, he's not been disgraced in the slightest, and both of those were over hurdles. I just think Nelson would have a decent chance. He's 50-1. I think there's worse 50-1 pokes throughout the week. The Novice Handicap Chase now comes up, and I'm really, really, really coming round to Nürburgring. 10-1 for Joseph O'Brien. Got a mark of 143. Now, considering his Irish hurdles mark after winning the Galway hurdle, was 150. Had the 3 required runs over fences. Is this not screaming, not plot, but this has been a target for a long time? A hurdles mark in Ireland of 150. Got a chase mark over here of 143. Had the 3 required runs, bumped into some good horses on those. I'd say wasn't given the most difficult time when finishing behind them. Suddenly turns up here, could see him being backed on the day. Joseph O'Brien's know how to win at the moment. I think 10-1 is as big as he will be. I think he's got a massive chance. And then the other one for Gavin Cromwell, the company sergeant, he's just so warm on him. 16-1. Got a mark of 139. He's had 1 run for Gavin Cromwell since moving over to his yard. That was over hurdles behind Music of Tara, finished 3rd. That was probably a pipe opener, probably plenty of improvement to come. Could take advantage of the chase mark, but maybe jumping a fence would be a concern. But then again, Gavin Cromwell may have improved that one. Now, moving on to the Patemps, and I'm coming round to the fact, and I hope that this is the case, that the Wool Park will run here. Gordon Elliott in preview nights has said that nothing has been confirmed. They've got the option of the Stayers Hurdle. They've got this option. I would love him to go here. I don't think there's a real screamingly obvious horse of the future in the race, which I think the race can often produce. They've changed the ruling with getting into the race. It had to be the first 4. They changed that a few years ago. Now it's winning you're in as well. But for me, looking at that October qualifier, he ran Salvador Ziggy there a couple of years ago, and the next time we saw him was at the festival. He finished a good second. I know that the Wool Park went there slightly undercooked. He was an improving horse, but he had a slight gap in between his previous run to that and when he won the qualifier in October. I don't think the plan that day was necessarily to go and win, but I think he was an improving horse. He went and won, beating some good horses. Gal Road was second. Say Knights was 3rd. It's a decent race. Gal Road's gone on to win the Cleve Hurdle. Ultra consistent. I think the Wool Park is an extremely fast, improving horse. He ran a great race in the Long Walk Hurdle. I completely see the case for his chances in the Stayers. But off 152, I do think this race can go to a classy horse. We saw Cider Burley do it for the exact same connections. I think the Wool Park, if it's to run here, is definitely going to be carrying my money. The top weight doesn't concern me at all. I think he could be a possible Stayers Hurdle horse next year. He's possibly even a really smart Grade 1 novice chaser next year. This race does chuck up that type of horse. J. McManus bought him after his win in the qualifier. I don't know. I think there's plenty to like. J. McManus doesn't have a Stayers Hurdle horse. You are playing with fire. He's 7-1 in the not non-runner no bet market. So that's where possibly the value is if he turns up here. I think of 152, he's going to be extremely competitive and holds that class angle. Further down the weights, 2 that are going to be of interest. I know that Andrew loves Feet of a Dancer. She got a mark of 136. She's 16-1. I actually think that she's got a very similar profile to Miss Milner. And if that was to be the case, Miss Milner went and won the race. I think Feet of a Dancer at 16-1's got a chance. She'll travel into the race extremely well. Will she get up the hill? It's going to be fascinating. And then Pattern Merchant as well got qualified the other day, finished 4th in the last qualifier at Punchestown. He's 18-1, got a mark of 134. I was semi-thinking that we're going to run him in the Martin Pipe. I suppose he still could run there. But I'm not 100% sure with him. I don't know whether he's a a 3-miler who we've just not seen the very best of yet because the whole plan was to run in the Pertemps, or he doesn't stay 3 miles and therefore we're going to see a good version of him in the Martin Pipe, or he's just quite average. Not 100% sure I've worked that one out yet, and suspect I won't work that one out until the day. So the Wall Park Vita Vedanta and maybe Pater Merchant in the Pertemps. Moving on then to the Plate, and the one angle I like here is Cheltenham hosts a very similar type of race at every single meeting throughout the year, so we get really good course form. I think Jim Around is interesting at 20s for Venetia Williams, got a mark of 142. Grandeur Dam 33-1 off 139, was a short head second over course and distance behind Moon d'Orange on Trials Day. If you look back at all of these horses that go and win these races year on year, Shake 'em Up Harrys, the Cool Codys, I'm missing another one that was in between them. Anyway, they're front runners and they've got a form over course and distance at Cheltenham that year. They even won at Cheltenham that year. Jim Aron screams that Grandeur Down went so close. I think they're both interesting at good prices. And the Kim Muir, going to be interesting to see how the National Hunt Chase impacts the Kim Muir, because I suspect some of the similar types, maybe the unexposed novices, would have run in the Kim Muir. Now they've got the option of the National Hunt Chase because they're very similar conditions, both 0 to 145. Sar Majest, I think, is going to run here. He's 10-1, got a mark of 142, which I think was pretty lenient. I know that people that have backed him were worried that he might not even get in, especially after he beat Affordale Fury and Phil Dore on his last start. I know that they had to give him lots of weight, but he still did the job. And I'm not necessarily thinking that I know the way you're thinking, but I think he is a horse better than his mark. He was running in Grey 1s at Christmas behind Impere Pass. He's not been disgraced at all. The only concerning thing is Willie Mullins has never won a Cheltenham Handicap Chase. Can you believe that? I can't. Sar Majest at 10-1, I think has to go there with a massive chance. I think Derek O'Connor will be booked. It sounds like connections are already trying to do that. So Sar Majest, possibly with Derek O'Connor on in the Kim Muir, got to have a big chance. And then 2 in the County Hurdle and the Martin Pipe, 1 in each to finish the Friday. The one in the County Hurdle is 50-1. I think he's been massively overlooked. And at the start of the show, I explained that I think the juvenile form from last year was really, really good, very, very rock solid. And there's been a couple of horses that have been possibly overlooked with regards to Cheltenham, and one of them is Bunting at 50-1 for the County Hurdle. I really like him. At the start of the season, because I work on Road to Cheltenham at work, Ruby kept saying there's a massive handicap in this horse. And I was going, okay, he's relatively disappointing as a juvenile. When he finished, I think it was second to Car Geese, I thought we were looking at a very, very smart horse. And then it didn't really work for him. Nothing really materialised after that run. But he turned up on his only start this season, finished second behind Beckett Rock. They were 49 lengths clear of the third. That could have just been a pipe opener. They were patient with him. Willie Mullins has been extra patient with his juveniles when they step up into open company. He got a mark of 139. He's going to be fit. I think he's going to run in the race. I think at 50-1 he could be possibly overlooked. I just think Ethical Diamond, for instance, got a mark of 143. I thought it was possibly harsh. Maybe he's shown his hand. The one who hasn't out of last year's juvenile crop is Bunting. Maybe Car Geese, you could possibly say, hasn't shown her hand yet. But Bunting of 139, they're convinced there's a big race in him. And it wouldn't surprise me if he went off a little bit shorter. I could see him going off around the 18 to 20 to 1 mark, not 50-1. And I think he's definitely going to run here. He's got entries across the board. I think he's got an entry in the Martin Pipe, the Coral Cup. So there are options, but I prefer this option for him. And at 50-1, maybe it's worth £2.50 each way. And then 1 in the Martin Pipe. I always look for the Gigginstown Gordon Elliott or Gigginstown Willie Mullins horse in this, because they love to target a horse in the race, and there's nothing at the top of the market. And then I was thinking, well what is there? And the Enabler's 20-1 got a mark of 136. Last year had graded bumper form, finishing behind Jeroboam Machan at the Dublin Racing Festival. This year, if you actually look at his form, he screams a Martin Pipe chance. He finished a second behind Jasmine Devois, the champion bumper winner. He's been massively disappointing. But I think he was only 4 lengths behind him. He then went and beat I Am Lorenzo and Port Julian in a maiden hurdle at Leopardstown at Christmas. That was up in trip. That form's worked out. Port Julian's gone out and won since. And then he was dropped down to 2 miles at the Dublin Racing Festival in a handicap. Didn't particularly run any sort of race, but clearly not a 2-miler. Do you think 136? Traditionally, if you're looking back through the years, the enabler could be screaming the one. I understand Copet de Me is of so much interest. He's favourite for the County, he's favourite for the Martin Pipe, he's favourite for the Coral Cup. He's got a mark of 136 as well as the enabler. We could be looking at Galopin de Champs 2.0. Is this a Grade 1 horse masquerading as a handicapper and given a very lenient weight? Possibly. I completely see the angle. However, how many times have those French horses turned up at Cheltenham, been backed off the boards? The two examples I can think of in recent times were Gaelic Warrior. He finished second in the Boodles behind Brazil. Bad went off 5-1 for Ben Pauling in a Boodles. Now, the one caveat is both of those were juveniles, so younger horses slightly less formed to go off. Copet de Me is an older horse. I completely see the angle there. And William Mullins has had Copet de Me probably for longer than he had the other two. I think he came into the yard in November. So I see the angle completely. I think he could be well in. But is he worth taking a chance at 7-2 in this type of race when traditionally those types of horses that come over from France have got an abysmal record in the race? I'm not so sure. So for me, the enabler could be of interest at 20-1. But they're roughly my thoughts immediately after the Cheltenham Handicap weights came out. It's obviously so competitive. Everyone's going to have a different view. And I'm hoping that in a week or two's time, when we do the Cheltenham Festival preview on the channel, that I'm going to know exactly what I'm backing. But I think the ones I definitely know I'm going to be backing, I think the two JB horses in the Boodles, I think have got massive chances. I think if one of Carla Conti or Queen's Gamble were to go for the Coral Cup, I think I'll back them each way at a big price. I could definitely see me taking a bit of a punt on Path de Rue, 18-1 in the Grand Annual. Nürburgring is definitely in the team, and then Novice Handicap Chase. If the Wool Park goes to the Potemps, I think he's got a big chance. If not, I think Feet of a Dancer could run well for Paul Nolan, and then Bunting at a big price and possibly the enabler. So they're my thoughts for the Cheltenham Handicaps. I know that was a million miles an hour. Apologise if it was all over the shop. I'm actually recording this probably an hour before you're watching the video on Thursday morning. So I do hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And also do come along to the preview nights if you're not doing anything. They're great laughs. If you've never been to one before, it's basically a load of racing fans talking about the races. The panel go through all the races and we have a big chat at the end as well. So one night on the 5th in Middlesbrough, one night on the 6th in Birmingham, and then if you're a LTR Plus member, you've got the live stream to look forward to on the Friday night. I do hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.